West Coast Avengers. West Coast Avengers. West Coast Avengers.
Welcome back to the West Coast Avengers. Yeah, we got a big episode. I feel like Tony Montana right now.
I'm gonna eat that salsa for breakfast.
Thanks for joining another Sunday. Don't forget, if you're watching this for the first time, smash the like button, throw a comment below, subscribe, and actually, most important, watch till the very end. It'll help boost my show and bring it out to new viewers. That means I get more people. It means I can do this more often and share it with you. So last week, if you watched, I went to the Packwood Flea Market in Packwood, Washington, which is on the other side of Mount Rainier, and I met somebody. I'll show you right here. If not,
I don't, but I tell you, if you really are a comic book guy, my wife just bought 15 boxes yesterday. She doesn't know what's in them.
where are you based out of? Shoreline.
Shoreline, yeah.
Yeah, let me give you my let me get your information. I'm in Tacoma, but
Okay,
I drove out here, so
I'll give you her number.
he gave me her number. As I was leaving the flea market, when I had signal after I was out of the mountains, I called her. And then Sunday, which was 2 weeks ago from today, I went to her storage facility warehouse place. Sure enough, there was 15 long boxes. At first, I did not film because I just didn't feel right. I didn't say anything to her, but I told her about the YouTube show. So I started filming as I was digging. At first, I didn't know if it was an all or none situation. Well, clearly, it wasn't an all or none situation. It was whatever I wanted. And so I started digging through, and she basically told me just make a box of the stuff you want. We'll do about $1 per comic. And so I started filming and digging and digging and digging and digging and just pulling out books. As you can see, a long box and a half. This is a lot of comics. I'm going to show you some footage. We're going to go through a box. You're going to tune in next week, and we're going to go through the other box. How does that sound? It's a lot of comics. Don't forget, every Wednesday, West Coast Wednesday, right here on YouTube, is my comic book claim sale and auction. You can catch me here at 8 p.m. PST. Thank you for being here. Also, happy 1-year anniversary to me for this YouTube show. I can't believe this has been a year, and there's something like 1,200 of you watching me, or at least some of you watching me. Why don't we roll the footage?
There's 15 long boxes of comics. I'm going to go through and look and see if I want to buy it. But I don't know. A lot of new stuff. Make a big offer. I'm not buying all of this. There's a lot of current stuff in here that just don't want, don't need. But probably find some big keys.
I think the first big hit and the feeling that I got when I saw all these Dark Horse Star Wars was an indication of what was to come. I didn't even look at the issues. I just saw it was all Dark Horse Star Wars. I picked up the entire stack and put it in my box. Sergio Aragonis.
Full frontal nudity. That's
Brand, first appearance.
gotta love that homage.
This collection was a little bit all over the place. A lot of weird independent stuff, even stuff that I would never consider owning. But then I'd find an issue of something right in between. And you just really have to have an all-around knowledge of what you're looking at when you go through a collection this size.
Don't forget, like, follow, subscribe. Tom Strong. It's a Alex Ross cover. Oh, I'll take a team opening. Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. Can we get lucky with the first print? 9th printing. Pussy fucking Osborne.
I find a lot of fun in digging through boxes like this, but it is a lot of work. You have to kind of make sure that you're looking at every issue. A lot of these were backwards, so I had to flip over. But it was nice to hit a chunk of Wolverine, which I probably should have taken them all, but this was an essentials only dig. I was only trying to find books that I knew that had value instead of $2 and $3 books.
I'm not going with the benefit of key collector on this. This is going all from memory. I was never bagged or boarded. Alright, there's a recalled Conan book that has nudity on the front cover, but I doubt this person's gonna have it. Gotta look through it all just to make sure there's no titties. Let's look at number 1. Taking all the Star Wars I can find. Oh, the Pro. Take a Betty Page, Olivia. Take a, what's it called? Wizard magazine. Oh, hell yeah. Taking any unopened Wizards. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna find anything old in here.
It's funny when you start looking through so many collections on a regular basis. This person was a big Wolverine fan, a partial X-Men fan. There was some vintage stuff in there, but most of the stuff was modern. But it was almost completely devoid of all Spider-Man, which is rare. It is very rare to find a Marvel collection that is devoid of Spider-Man.
Never sleep on that one. Cable Deadpool. Check Cable Deadpool 1. Grab that. Now, do we think that's actually going to be in there? This says Moon Knight, Secret Wars 1 and 2. Oh yeah. I'm not picky at all. Just take the entire Moon Knight series. Take all the what ifs. Secret Wars 2. No Secret Wars 1 in here. Maybe it's in another box. Let's take the... Yep, I'm just gonna... Oh well. We'll just take it all.
So as you can see, this collection is 95% modern. And it is probably split about 50-50 between Marvel and DC/indie. And I enjoy looking through the modern stuff even if I don't enjoy buying all of it, just because it increases my comic IQ. I have a pretty decent photographic memory, so when I see a cover and I remember it and it's attached to a key, then I can usually remember it every single time until it's just second nature, and then I pick it up.
There he is.
I hope you enjoyed that. I work very hard in cultivating relationships so that things like this happen. There's no way that I could have known that going to that flea market would lead to talking to somebody, and we just had a conversation as two human beings, and I followed through on his advice. She was happier to have me pick through, and she was just concerned that I was going to take $1 million book, because the way that some people that don't know comics look at it, like they know that, oh, Batman #1 is millions and Action Comics #1. And I said it, there's no old stuff in here, so you're not looking at $1 million comics, no multi-$1,000 comics, and I'm being truthful with her. But she was more than happy to let me pick through and take what I wanted. And she told me what she was into it for afterwards, but I paid roughly $1 a book, $400 for everything. And she still has 14 boxes. This is a junk store warehouse thing. Let's just dive right in. I'm going to start with this pile first, and we'll start with a key, which was really nice to find. I can't tell if it's dirty or if that's the cover. It is a white cover, but that is Wolverine Origins number 10, the first appearance of Wolverine's son, Daken, or as some people call him, Dakin, I say Dakin. This all happened yesterday, so I did not have the time to bag and board everything. I tried to take as much as I could find of this, and I don't really know all the keys, but this is a big chunk of all the Annihilation books that Marvel did. Annihilation 2007, actually, so it's not early 2000s. But I do know that there are some decent keys in here. I got the entire Annihilation main title. There's another one. I got a Silver Surfer set, and then the one that is, I know the key, which is the Wraith, Annihilation Conquest Wraith. The first appearance of Wraith falls into those books. And then you got Nova number 1, some more Annihilation main title. I just picked up basically all of the Nova and Annihilation main title and Annihilation Conquest because I know those are the books that are sought after. Wraith was a central or somewhat central character in the King in Black event series that happened last year. If you are a watcher of this program, you know that I do talk about Star Wars, the Dark Horse years, a lot. They are underrated. Once Disney bought Star Wars and Marvel, they're meant to be not canon, but as we've seen with all these Disney Plus series, they are picking characters out of these comics and putting them on the screen. Very tough book to find. This was the only Star Wars Legacy I found, and that's Star Wars Legacy number 1. A Star Wars 81, there was some Marvel Star Wars in there from the 70s and the 80s. This is the issue where Boba Fett gets out of the Sarlacc pit. It's a little beat up. Very strangely, and you'll see in this pile, there was just some random vintage Marvel stuff in there. I love getting some Star Wars Tales, so I got a nice little chunk of these. 6 and 7. 2 copies of Star Wars Tales number 5. That's the photo variant of Billy D and the regular cover. Out of nowhere, we get 2 copies of Star Wars Tales number 2. It's got some wrinkles on it because this paper's kind of shit, but Star Wars Tales number 1. An almost complete miniseries of Jedi vs. Sith. The first appearance of Darth Bane. Perfect copies. The only one that's missing out of here is number 5, but I do have this miniseries already. I might even have 2 copies, one in a newsstand and one in a direct. And Enemy of the State Boba Fett, this actually represents all 4. A near complete Darth Maul miniseries, 2 copies of number 1, both covers. And number 3 and number 4, I can't remember if number 2 is in here, but I don't think it is. This I happily pulled out. A complete World War Hulk 1 through 5. 1, 2, 3. Yes, this is the complete run. Tightly packed in beautiful shape. There was a label on one of the boxes that said Secret Wars, and I was like, oh boy, Secret Wars. But it wasn't the whole run. But luckily, I did get a copy of number 1 and number 10. No number 8. There was a number 2 in there as well. 3, 11, and a 12. Not the biggest key, but I'm not going to complain about those, because why would I? If you've never read this is a hilarious book. Garth Ennis's The Pro, about a prostitute who is also a superhero. She curses, she smokes, she breastfeeds, she blows away the competition. If you thought The Boys was raunchy, wait till you read this. Fucking randomly, and excuse my French, but fuck, this is weird. How about an entire run of the first volume of Moon Knight, issue 1 through 38. The entire run. All in bags, no boards, but perfectly packed. I looked at them last night in the bags, and everything is a VF plus or better, or, like high grade. And what's so special about this run? Well, it's the first solo series of Mark Spector, Moon Knight. I think we all know who worked on this. His name is Sienkiewicz. Bill Sienkiewicz. Bill Sienkiewicz. And I went through a lot of this on my Sienkiewicz episode, and if you don't know, he is one of my favorite artists, and he should be one of your favorite artists too, but this is an entire friggin' run of Moon Knight. There's a lot of fun stuff in here, and then there's a lot of stuff that I pulled out that are indicative of a full series. We'll go through the final pile of this box, and then tune in next week, and we'll go through here. This will be significantly shorter, but there's a couple of bigger books in here too. Scooped up a Justice League Dark number 1, which is the first full appearance, plus I think I grabbed issue 2 and 3. Some of my favorite artists, a lot of them fell into the 90s. Stephen Platt is one of them. Here's a book that I have never seen before called Fighting American. This is the preview edition. I don't know if this ever became a book, but it's Jim Starlin writing a book that Stephen Platt is penciling, and it's just the raw pencils. And I kind of want to keep this book, but I also want to send this book to Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg, because this is something that they could put under the microscope at Cartoonist Kayfabe. which you should be checking out if you're a comic fan, Cartoonist Kayfabe. I assume this is the first issue of the Jay and Silent Bob comic book from Oni Press, written by Kevin Smith with a photo cover of Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes. It also features artwork from Duncan Fegredo. Never miss a chance to pick up Punisher Meets Archie. Look at that cover. Die-cut cover, something you'll never see again, and there's the skull. I did get 2 copies of this, but I only need to show you one. Indiana Jones #1. Indiana Jones and his fedora. A bunch of #1s I found, including this Deadpool #1 from the first Deadpool series. I believe this is 1997. Let's see if I'm right about that. Yep, January 1997. This person had a nice little selection of Deadpool stuff, so I picked up the Cable and Deadpool #1. I think I picked up #2 as well. And also in the Deadpool realm, Wolverine 88. Honestly, I've never liked this cover because if you look at this, it's really tough to tell that that's Deadpool. And this is the first meeting of Wolverine and Deadpool, but it does command a premium because of that. As friends of the show, you should know I have highlighted this book countless times because I pick it up whenever I find it, and that's that Wolverine #90 with that crazy Hildebrandt and Kubert cover full of these fold-out splash pages and a little tidbit of information for West Coast Avengers history. I just recently rewatched my first episode. Well, it was really nice to see this was one of the first books that I picked up when I started shooting these episodes. So if you haven't checked out the first episode, it's raw, it's rough, but it's me. Never owned this book before. I know they did a True Believers version of it, a reprint, Wolverine Tooth and Claw. I've never read it. This came out after my first run at collecting comics. Yeah, I stopped collecting comics, new stuff around 96, 97 when I graduated high school. Pretty cool to own a book that I love both characters, but I've never actually seen or owned before. New Avengers #1 and Astonishing X-Men #6. The first appearance of Abigail Brand and the first mention of Sword. Everything is VF or better. Healthy grades for all this stuff. Secret Avengers #1, the first full appearance of that team, I believe. And the Dark Avengers #1, the first ongoing Dark Avengers book. Continuing with the #1, some Marvel Knights Daredevil. Joe Quesada, written by Kevin Smith when Joe Quesada took over as editor-in-chief, and he was at the height of his powers when it came to like editor-in-chief, artist, all that stuff. He was just amazing. I love his use of the baton with all the rope. He basically did with Daredevil kind of what McFarlane did with Spider-Man, if that makes sense. Not completely redesigning the character, but redesigning the feel of the character and the artwork. Black Panther #1, another one from the Marvel Knights line. Lots of good stuff that came out of that Marvel Knights era that I think gets overlooked. More Marvel Knights goodness #1, Black Widow #1, the first full Yelena Belova. You know, there's debate about this. The Inhumans one gets more of the love than this does, but I like this cover a lot too. J.G. Jones. Masters of the Universe from Image Comics #1. J. Scott Campbell cover, but a 12-page preview of Invincible in here. Thundercats #1. Oh! Randomly in there, Guardians of the Galaxy #5, the first appearance of Angela in Marvel Universe. And Angela, originally created by Todd McFarlane and Neil Gaiman for Spawn #9. And Neil Gaiman sues Todd McFarlane because there was never a contract, and after a while, Gaiman stopped getting checks from McFarlane because they made toys, they made all this stuff, and since he co-created the character, and it was Image Comics, he felt he deserved a cut of the royalties. So he sues McFarlane and wins, and then Angela goes to Marvel, and Marvel gets the rights to Miracle Man over to Gaiman. I think it's finally getting finished up very soon. It all started from Angela. Harley Quinn #1, first volume. This is the first ongoing Harley Quinn title. I believe this commands about a $100 price tag or so. I know I sold one recently for $75. We're about to get to the last book, but I thought it was pretty funny. After just selling an entire run of God of Thunder, basically the entire run was back in this box. So Thor God of Thunder #2. The first appearance of Gore. This book has gone down significantly, which is kind of blasphemous because the book and the run is so good, and Gore is such a good character. But that's the way the market works with the people that only collect the MCU stuff. Once the character's gone from the movies, they're just like, oh, this is worthless. So stupid. So to close out the first part of the haul, as you could see, I hit some Image books, but there wasn't like heavy Images, some Spawn, there was some of this, some of that, Image United. But then I hit Saga number like 10, and then I hit like Saga number 5, but then there was no 6 through 9. And then I hit Saga number 4, and I hit Saga number 3, and then I hit Saga number 2, and then I hit Saga number 1. Saga number 1, the epic, sprawling, sci-fi, fantasy, beautiful story by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. Now, I have a little history with this book. I was collecting it new when it came out. I'm a big Brian K. Vaughan fan. I think he's one of the most talented writers all of comics history, or at least modern comics history. So I bought the first issue because I'd read Why the Last Man and Ex Machina and Pride and his Marvel stuff. Loved the first issue. I read it up until I sold all my books for the most part in, it was like 2016. Of course, I was bummed. I was bummed because this is one of my favorite books, but to find one like this for $1, I've been waiting like a year and a half or 2 years to find one of these in the wild, and boom, it was right there. Really beautiful copy. Say it's about a near mint. Beyond stoked. That was part 1 of the haul. Part 2 is a little bit shorter, but we'll get to that next week. Don't forget, like, subscribe, check out my Instagram, but don't forget, every Wednesday, West Coast Wednesday, right here on YouTube, comic claim sale and auction, and I really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week on the... Don't slap the books down. They're falling flat. I understand how physics work. Okay?